Jeez Louise. I'm nervous. That face is why I'm nervous right now. You give me that face, this whole thing, this speech is not going to go well. I need positive reinforcement. I'm fragile. Watch this. Now we're cooking with gas. All right. University of Wisconsin winter class of 2022. Tell your folks I says hi. I'll wait. You know, this is the university that I still dream about. In fact, it's a recurring dream. In this dream, I show up to class to give a speech, and the students are there, and my professor is there, and actually all my professors are there, and the chancellor is there, and my parents are there, and the speech isn't even in a classroom, it's in the Kohl Center of all places. And in this dream, I have absolutely nothing prepared. And this is why you never follow your dreams. Look, I'm kidding, all right? I did prepare something, hang on. At the bar, I prepared it. Okay, so we got a couple napkins from the plaza to get through today. Couple receipts, okay? And you guys better get comfortable, all right? This is CVS receipt, okay? So I got a few bits of wisdom on here, a couple jokes, a little catch-up. It's gonna be fun. Now, some of you know me as the Manitowoc Minute guy. Others of you know me as that guy on YouTube, I forget his name. But most of you just know me as the guy who's been staring at you through the UW bookstore window all semester long. It's an honor to be speaking here before you today, but I know what some of you are thinking. Why is this guy up here? Why, when the University of Wisconsin-Madison has so many notable alumni, from U.S. senators and environmental scientists to novelists and award-winning architects, historians, movie producers, even astronauts, why would they choose me? And the answer is simple. All those people were busy. My sister is actually a junior here, and she called me when she found out I was giving this speech, and she said, "You're giving the commencement?" And I says, "Yeah." I could tell that she was proud of her big brother for maybe the first time in her life. She said, "When is it? I'm putting it on my calendar." I said, "December 18th. She said, "Oh, wait, just the winter commencement?" Shout out to Bridget Berens, class of 2024. Well, actually 2025 if we're being honest, you know, just. Chancellor Mnuchin, Provost Schultz, hit the peas hot there on the deal. Really screwed up my thank yous. And esteemed members of the, lost a receipt. Honest to Pete. And esteemed members of the Board of Regents, faculty, and senior class office, I thank you so much for this great honor and trust in me not to screw the pooch today, okay? But most importantly, it's an honor to join all of you in congratulating the University of Wisconsin's winter class of 2022. Now, about a month ago, after I was asked to give this speech, I released a thank you video on the UW social media channels, promising I would bring each and every graduate jerky and brandy. And if you take a moment and look under your seats, you'll realize I lied. But it's not because I didn't want to. It's because I'm cheap. Now, you did all get a book, okay? And that will most certainly be regifted to all of you this Christmas, so Congratulations on your presents. Now, as you already heard, I graduated from here 13 years ago. So in other words, I am old. How old, you ask? Well, I'm old enough to remember when Pretty Witty was still Shitty Witty. I'm old enough to remember when the best bars had yet to be torn down to make way for high-rise apartments. And I would make a joke about construction here, but I'm still working on it. Cool, thanks for laughing. Technologically speaking, your college experience was light years in front of mine. Today, you can write full sentences using only emojis. Back in my day, if I wanted to text LOL, I had to do it like this. 555-666-555. Back in my day, my roommates and I chipped in to buy a plasma TV for our apartment. Of course, none of you are buying plasma for your apartment. You're selling plasma to pay for your apartment. It's a little true, huh? Back in my day, we had to walk up Bascom Hill to get to class both ways. Back in my day, we graduated into a recession. Actually, that one we got in common. In fact, this is a good transition into my meat and potatoes part of the speech. I titled this section, Graduating into a Recession. Don't tell them how screwed they actually are. Oh, sorry. Wasn't supposed to read the parentheses. I'm kidding, of course. No, you're not screwed just because you're graduating into a recession. Honestly, I'm not even sure if we're officially in a recession. I'll just leave that for the business school grads to figure out. By the way, where are the business school grads? Where are you? Oh, real good, you guys. Oh my gosh, Granger looks incredible. I saw it the other day. It's gotten so much bigger, so much more beautiful. It's crazy. I could hardly recognize Granger. Vilas, on the other hand, journalism school hasn't changed a bit. Anyway, while I can't say if you're officially graduating into a recession, I think it's fair to say that you're graduating into uncertain economic times. And as someone who also graduated into uncertain economic times, I'm here to tell you it's not that bad of a thing. I mean, it's bad, but it's not that bad, okay? No, in all honesty, it's an opportunity to find your own path by letting creativity guide your way. I want to tell you a few quick stories, some that make me look good, others that don't, but I hope each story gives you some insight on the next steps of your journey. Now, when I was a senior, I lived in a house over by the Arboretum with my brothers. One night I was out partying, one night I was out studying, and it was time to walk back home. Now, this was a particularly warm night. There was a dense fog hanging over the isthmus as the 45-degree air slowly melted the early March ice. I had made this journey several times over the winter, and I'd often take a shortcut across the frozen Monona Bay. I knew the bay well because it was my ice fishing spot, but I wondered if the ice was still okay to walk on. My gut told me no. But as a gust of wind momentarily cleared the fog, I saw another person walking across the bay. So I figured, the ice must be good enough for who it's for. After a few minutes of walking, I started to catch up to this person in front of me. And it was now clear that this person had been drinking. As I got closer, I recognized the person. "Bill," I says. It was my brother. He was most certainly drinking. And this is how he replied. "Hey, we shouldn't be out here." The moral of this story is don't always follow those who came before you. They could be your drunk brother Bill. Class of 2010. Next story. My senior year at UW, I landed a dream internship working for MTV News as their Wisconsin correspondent covering the 2008 election. I was sure that this was my big break, and I did everything in my power not to screw it up. I wrote, produced, and shot everything. And this was before my Motorola flip phone had a camera, so be impressed, okay? I was so dedicated to this job that I'd go weeks sleeping only a few hours a night, emptying everything I had into these videos. And my dedication paid off when MTV asked me to cover the 2008 Republican National Convention in St. Paul, Minnesota. On the second last night of the convention, my assignment was to follow that day's protest and stay until it was done. And so I did. I walked the streets with mostly peaceful, but at times violent protesters. Flashbang grenades exploded at my feet. The smell of tear gas lingered in the air, but the protest wasn't going anywhere, so neither was I. Eventually, the police surrounded the crowd and arrested everybody, journalists included. And then I spent the night in jail. I was wrongfully arrested, but my story about that experience made me that story about my experience put me on the front page of MTV News. And this was back in the day when MTV was still doing news videos. But I was so confident that my work with MTV News, plus my experience getting arrested covering one of the biggest stories of the year, in addition to my degree from the best journalism school in the country, thanks, J Schoolers, really way to have my back there, okay? What the hell? Anyway, I was so confident that I'd get any journalism job I wanted coming out of college, that everything would snowball. But then, it didn't. I graduated with no job and even less money. My snowball had melted. So I did what I had to do. I worked odd jobs as a bike mechanic. I freelanced as a bad salesman. I was a production assistant on a movie. I even modeled for Shopko. Hold your applause for Shopko to the end of the show, okay? And then one day, I was out pheasant hunting with my dad and my brothers when I got a call. It was a production company I had been talking with in Los Angeles, owned by another UW grad named Mark Herzog. I was offered my first full-time position. I'd be a production assistant making $100 a day. The only problem now was I needed a car. But that problem would soon be solved. You see, we got done hunting, and my brother Andy forgot to unload his shotgun before putting it in the back of the car. Class of '08. That's right, he locked and loaded his shotgun and put it in the back of the minivan, my dad's minivan. I know, I was one pothole away from telling this story to St. Peter. Now, we got home and we cleaned the car. I was the one who pulled the guns out, and pow, Andy's gun went off. It turned the shotgun seat into an actual shotgun seat. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but my dad, who's a huge gun safety guy, came storming out of the house, and I've never seen him so pissed. Meanwhile, our dog Murphy was just pointing at the front seat like we just shot a bird. No bird, Murph. And my dad looked at me and was like, "You just bought yourself a minivan." And I was like, "No, Dad, it was Andy." But I was literally holding a smoking gun. And the worst part is he sold it to me at the Kelley Blue Book level marked excellent. Because apparently there was no box to check for has minor shotgun blast on the interior. So a week later, I rolled up to Los Angeles in the silver bullet van with more money in my gas tank than my bank account. I lived in my buddy Josh Burstein's closet, class of '08. I didn't have a key to the house, so sometimes I'd be locked out, but that was okay, because I had plenty of room in the back of the van. That's what happens when you shoot away 2 of the seats. I lived off the leftover bagels my company was about to throw away, and there were many moments where I questioned myself at this point in my life. I had a college degree, and yet here I was, unable to afford rent. and far from a job I went to school for. Hope you're looking forward to that, J-Schoolers. Kidding. But then one day I noticed my boss was renting a truck to take gear to the set. And I said, save the money, let me do it. I got a minivan with so much space it'll blow you away. So he let me take the cameras and the lights to set. I'd set them up, I'd break them down, and then I'd get back to the office and I'd set them up again. And I'd shoot my own stuff. And then after months of making bad video clips better, I finally had enough good material to make a reel. And from that reel, I got my first on-camera news job. Now, two big lessons in this story. Number one, sometimes in life, you're gonna shoot the minivan. Roll with it. And number two, if my brother Andy ever offers you a ride back from a hunting trip, call an Uber. Last story. Now, I'm 29 years old. And for the past 8 years, I've been working news jobs across the country. Yeah, I did have some success, but mostly I had failures. I lost some jobs because of my accent. I lost others because I just wasn't that good. But there was a bigger issue at play. I wasn't doing what I truly loved to do. I had spent my professional life climbing a mountain only to realize, I'm more of a lake guy, honestly. I didn't want to do news. I didn't want to do news. I wanted to do comedy. I knew this deep down for some time, but I didn't want to start over because what would people think of me? That was seriously my thought. What would people think of me? I mean, my friends were all making more money, in more stable jobs. They were getting married and they were having kids, and their lives were going great, according to Instagram. I kept thinking, what was I gonna post on Instagram? I'm serious, that was my thought process. What would I post on Instagram and what would people think of me? Quitting news at almost 30 years old to pursue comedy? And then I realized one of life's great secrets. Nobody cares what you do. They don't. They may say they do, they don't. Those who love you are still gonna love you. And as for the rest, they're too busy counting likes on Instagram to care how many likes you have. So I started stand-up comedy and I committed to making a sketch a week until it took off. And I did that for months and nothing took off. But it didn't matter, I loved it. I found the thing that lit up my soul. And then I made the Man Talk Minute. It was a sketch where I blended my local news experience with the state I know and love. And I thought it'd be just another one-off video. But it wasn't. It took off thanks to all of you. And on that day, my life changed forever. Now, time will move fast. Your job isn't to slow it down. Your job is to fill your days with what lights your soul. And don't worry if you can't see the path. Once your soul is lit, the path will reveal itself. And on your path, and this is most important, make sure you watch out for deer. University of Wisconsin winter class of 2022, keep her moving. Fixed it. Keep her moving and on Wisconsin. Thank you very much.